Hi, everybody. This is day 1893. Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss because he was a whistleblower and they were retaliating against him after months of retaliation already, abuse of power. But they forcibly removed him. They took him to a soundproof room, and there was a big fight. Information that our intelligence says that he fought back. He fought back on their assault and did some damage. Did some damage to dental work of other people, and but he lost his life, and his body was stolen, and they trafficked his body to cover it up, and it was a very, very big deal because it's connected to this whole thing, y'all. It's connected to this whole battle. So let's go on and see if I'm on, if everything is working. And then while I'm doing that, let's look at, let's start with.
Brian Harrison, if we can put up, if Denver could put up, there was a post earlier about the school supervisor in Omaha, and it turns out he's selected by a consult. The guys in Omaha saying, "Hey, it's not us. We didn't have anything to do with it. We don't know this guy," and they retained a consultant. I think it's down in Texas, and he's the one that recommended this guy. And in addition, it looks like that he's worked on a bunch of Texas schools to recommend supervisors there. Once again, brother, what in the hell is going on? The Lone Star State is the railhead of MAGA. Okay, well, how can a state that's the railhead of MAGA, got so many patriots, get an institution down there that's so woke and weaponized, sir?
No, I actually think it's one of the biggest forms of voter fraud in American history. The voters of Texas are conservative. They support President Trump, reelected him at a 14-point landslide. The voters of Texas are red, as you say, the railhead of the MAGA movement. But the reality is the Texas government is blue. I mean, it's one of the biggest forms of voter fraud ever, because the voters want bold conservative Republican leadership, but they are being given basically funding, taxed out of their homes to fund the far left, liberal, progressive, Marxist agenda. And that includes on things like, and this is going to shock people to hear, the Texas government might be the biggest funder of DEI in America. I think we may be the biggest funder of the transgender movement and ideology in America, where all this woke progressive nonsense. I mean, how do people think it ends up in the classroom? Well, because we're indoctrinating education students. We're in our English departments and our education programs here in Texas, and our gender studies programs, and in our transgender studies programs that are just about every public university. And this guy, this placement firm, it looks like, and my staff's looking into this, he's placed superintendents in Austin, some of those schools in the Dallas area, perhaps all across the state of Texas. And then, yeah, this fugitive illegal alien in one of the biggest school districts in another state. So we're exporting now DEI out of the Lone Star State. I'm doing everything I can to defund it, but the Texas government is all in on promoting DEI, and this nonsense has got to end.
Okay, so wow, exporting superintendents for schools. Well, we have the answers here at our site. Justice for Richard Halliday. Find Richard Halliday. We absolutely have loads of answers. And I don't really want to have the answers, right? I don't want to have the answers, but the evidence, 5 years of investigating and identifying crimes and documenting them over and over again and filing them, filing the crimes, also is, it's an education process, because you have to organize all of the evidence in order to file it, right? In order to file it to make sense to the right agency. And so while you're doing that, you learn even more evidence. You put more puzzle pieces together. And so 5 years of doing that, the evidence has become mountainous. Our evidence is a robust mountain of evidence. And we were told if we wanted the CID, if we wanted the chain of command to help us locate our son's remains, really, because they always knew he was dead, okay? They always knew that his life had ended. If they wanted, if we wanted to know what happened, if we wanted them to help, we would have to investigate ourselves. This is what they told us. You have to investigate and you have to bring them leads. Otherwise, they couldn't help us. Now, that was just so sickening, so gross, so negligent, so criminal. It was so criminal. And we just said, okay, we'll do it. We'll do it because we saw their faces. We knew that something was really stinky, and that they were in on it, and that finding out what happened to our Richard would depend on us. It would depend on us. And and of course, we're Richard's parents, so we knew the responsibility for him falls on us, falls absolutely on us, to locate him, to get justice for him. And we knew what they were telling us about the whole situation was a bunch of bunk, and it was. And so we have now investigated for over 5 years, 5.5 years it's coming on, and we have a mountainous, robust files of evidence. And so we can tell you what's going on here with the schools. We have been reporting on the El Paso Independent School District and many others in the El Paso area, Ysleta, for one, and they're up to no good. They are absolutely up to no good. I don't know what we're going to do about this because we do need schools, but they've been absolutely taken over and used and abused, and absolutely cartel, absolutely in the power of the billionaire Mormon faction power broker Woody Hunt, because you can make a lot of money off of the bonds, because the population, like our military, loves our military, wants to spend money on our military, and they love our children. They want to spend money on our children. The terrible thing is it gets exploited. They take advantage of our love for our military and for our children. And it's been exploited with taxes and bonds and unnecessary schools and funding for luxurious buses to go across the border and pick up Mexican children and bring them across. And who knows what other children that they're bringing across, because we know that they were trafficking children. And now some of the schools have had to close down. A lot of schools have had to close down because the border is secure, and that then all of a sudden they didn't have enough children, right? They didn't have enough children. And we know that they have tunnels and that they were trafficking under the schools there that are right next to the border. And of course, they have unqualified El Paso Independent School District Chief of Police, Manny Chavira, who's connected to the cartel, is up to no good, targeted, his family targeted our son, and was working with the fuels distributor, uh, and in this whole scandal, it's all connected, y'all. It's all connected. And they use these schools. It's just a huge moneymaker for them. And then they are up to no good. Um, ideologically, they're up to no good. And they want to make things rotten. That's all. They want to make things polluted. They want to make things toxic, and they get kicks out of it. They get kicks out of their sex cults and their pollution and their toxic and their, uh, you know, they just want to corrupt things. That's just their ideology. That's what is important to them is to make everything stinky rotten. Um, and their power broker is the criminal billionaire Mormon uh, faction leader Woody Hunt. He's absolutely the polluter, the toxic polluter, the corrupter, and he'll do that, being a wolf, he'll do that in the sheep's clothing. He'll use his empire, including media and everything, to make him look, well, to cover up the stink with rosy words, but the stink is always there. You can't cover up the stink was with rosy words because then it's not a rose, is it? It's just words. So, this is, in his foundation that, oh, I'll give a grant or this and this. They're very toxic. They're not what they seem to be. And even the crumbs that come from him are pretty toxic or moldy. Um, and he gets paid back. It's a conduit. He gets paid back over and over again through these bonds, through these taxes, through these contracts, all kinds of contracts and stuff. And it is, and then he is connected to AG Peniche. Um, he is connected to César Peniche, the business partner for this energy carvel that was absolutely stealing petrol and diesel, right? Petrol and diesel, stealing billions of pesos worth, tons, and they had to store those. Um, it, you know, it's such a crime because they're stealing from the nation of Mexico and then selling back to them and giving the governors a cut. Of course, Governor Amaro Campos has oil all over her hands, right? She's very dirty. She's dripping. She's dripping with the corruption, with the toxic waste, fraud, and abuse of Peniche's partnership with Energy Carvel and others, and that's all coming out. And his house is not a house; it's a mansion. I think it's $20 million dollars worth, or maybe it's pesos. I mean, that would make a big difference, but it is in Chihuahua City and the San Francisco club area, which is the elite club. That's where they live, and um, his mansion was raided. He has one of the nicer mansions there, and it was raided. This is a FBI and a Fiscalia investigation into him, which is huge, and it just shows the how widespread this group is, that they are in Austin. Okay, the Texas government, we know the connection between the power broker Woody Hunt, who's up to no good with Governor Greg Abbott. We know Governor Greg Abbott is up to no good with Governor Maru Campos of Chihuahua, Mexico, giving intel to her. And we know that Alejandra de la Vega was working for her administration as the Secretary of Economics, and then was a peer, a co-worker with AG César Peniche, who is from Mexico City, but intelligence has told us, that it was absolutely the recommendation by Alejandra de la Vega and Woody Hunt, and of course her husband Paul Foster, that brought in Peniche, Cesar Peniche, to be the Attorney General. And bring in this kind of theft, this total theft. You don't have to wonder why you're paying such high gas prices at the pump. And that goes for America. That goes for America too, not just for Mexico. Because if you don't think this is involved with power brokers in El Paso and on Fort Bliss and in the United States, this is billions of barrels of diesel and petrol, and it absolutely crosses that border because they couldn't do it otherwise. They could not do it otherwise, and that's why this is an FBI and a Fiscalia investigation, because it does cross the border. It's very clear. And that's why Scheinbaum was very pressured to go to Juarez, Mexico, and take power away from Governor Maru. Governor Maru's she's in hot water. She's in hot water, rightfully so. Rightfully so. It should be hot water. She has to be investigated and held accountable for what she's done, because there's no bottom to any of this, right? With all of this body trafficking, organ trafficking, infant trafficking, child trafficking, drug trafficking, oil trafficking, everything that is not bolted down, they'll traffic, and they'll make their fortunes off of making other people absolutely miserable, or even worse. So this has to be addressed, and President Trump is doing that right now. And they have to be stopped. In Texas, we know that Senator Ted Cruz is very, let's just say he's very, very careful not to upset Woody Hunt, right? And he was there with the Walmart mass shooting. He was there to walk that scene. And so was Governor Abbott. It's pretty disgusting what they schemed and conspired through their media, through all of the evidence that we had against President Trump's administration, against the secure border policy, because they want the open border. And Woody Hunt is absolutely wheels and deals. It's confirmed. It's not us saying so, with Soros, because Soros has the open border policy, right? He wants open borders. And so, of course, Woody Hunt wants the same thing, because of the there was the history of this Mormon faction came even from Canada. I'm thinking even that Montoya, being a Bonneau, that he came down from Canada, right? They came down from Canada to Mexico because they were polygamous, and America, it's illegal to practice polygamy, and rightfully so. Our evidence, the problems with it's just, look, you have the black family that AG Peniche really let go, had three young American men that were dead in the Mexican yard of this black who was a polygamist. And his wives didn't even know their origin. They didn't even know where they came from. This is the problem, right? This is a huge problem. And of course, the Labaron family. And, you can just go, do your own research. I hope you don't, I hope you have better things to do. Um, where we are driven to do this to find Richard's remains, right? Because our son's remains were stolen. We're stolen and trafficked, and we're trying to find our son's remains and get that back. That's just something that you can't just let someone steal, right? You just can't let someone steal your son's body, right? That's not right. That's just not something you can let happen without addressing it. And so we feel that it's getting closer and closer, and we're just never going to give up, right? Because this is our son's body, right? It's our son's body. Where is it? Um, and here he is, so honored. You can't let someone that is so distinguished, so honored, a hero, just let them steal his body, right? Um, so this is why we are having to research all of this, and we will pass it on to you so you don't have to spend the hours and the resources to get to the bottom of this. And I know that people want to get to the bottom of the Charlie Kirk assassination. That is just wild. It's just so pray for all of those people that are driven to investigate that, because um, it is also tied to the attempts on President Trump's life, and also tied to our son's case, very much so. So that would be very, very helpful if they solve that. If they solve that case, it would be very helpful to our case and to the president's case. Well, one case, he's in prison now, but there's more to it. And of course, the whole Butler, Pennsylvania. It would be very, very helpful to get answers. And that's why we're not getting answers, because there's a domino effect with the answers, in a good way, a domino effect of justice. And that's why they're scared, because then they will be held accountable, and names will be absolutely put into the light that you didn't think would be in the light for participating in this kind of level of crime. So there's another warning that we have for everybody, and it is I'm doing everything by memory, so I hope you can follow along. Um, but there is a warning that we want to give everybody. His name is George Georgetti, and the more we look into him, the more we want to warn you about him. And he has a case right now in El Paso, in the district court, in the 120th district court. And it is for, being up to no good. It's this same thing, the same thing. And you can see what I wrote. I don't want to say it on this because maybe there will be some problems, but it is multiple men, and they were in a shelter. And a lot of times these shelters are court ordered. Okay. So these individuals are court ordered to attend them. George Georgetti worked for the DA's office under Jaime Esparza. For victims advocate. So he knows victims advocate. He knows the connections in the DA's office. He absolutely knows how the system works. And to target, this is the accusations anyway, he is alleged to have targeted these young men. And, I guess he wanted to see if they were puppies, right? And he would be, what do you call it, the big dog or whatever. But they have a suit out for him now, and he has a history of not really liking the law, not liking tax law. Um, uh, it seems his stories from Venezuela and everything, need to be scrutinized. Uh, every where he comes from needs to be scrutinized. Everything his story, what he says needs to be scrutinized, and people need to be warned. Do not bring your young boys near him. Okay, do not bring your young boys near him. And this case needs to be worked out first. This case needs to be worked out first, and if he's proven guilty, then you'll understand what we're saying. But until then, just to be careful, I wouldn't bring a young son around him at all. And I think he would understand that until this case is resolved. Um, and there's some big problems there. His past is very, very fishy. His name is, he changes his name, and so, and the spelling of his name. So, there's just uh, a lot of nonsense, and the people that are promoting him is also very fishy to us. Um, and so we decided we needed to warn everybody about George Georgetti. And yeah, make sure that everyone understands that there is a lot of circumstances going on surrounding him right now. So that is really, I know it's very, very late. We've had a very, very busy day because of what's going on in Texas, and you see that Texas is blue, even though Texas is red. So the government is blue, even though Texas is red, and that means there's been um, a lot of hanky panky going on with the elections and who is being brought forward, and that requires a power broker that's up to no good. And we know that the power broker that's up to no good would be Woody Hunt with his partners, Paul Foster and Alejandra de la Vega. So they have a lot of money, y'all. They have a lot of money. And yeah, but they're up to no good. Just because, and I think that this is a problem to have so much money. You have to have a really good moral base to be able to handle it. It doesn't seem like Woody Hunt has been able to handle his money. So thank you so much um, for everything, and please share this information. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you. Bye bye.